So welcome to the state tax credit auction webinar. We are very excited to be announcing that this is a new program that it will be operated by NJHMFA. We are going to be hosting a state tax credit auction, so it's an opportunity for New Jersey businesses to either bid on or purchase state tax credits that are applicable to either the corporate business tax or the insurance premium taxes in New Jersey. So to that end, we're going to jump right in, and the funds that are received from, or the revenues that are created from the sale of these tax credits are going to be utilized to create affordable and workforce housing projects throughout New Jersey. All right, so this is going to be the auction overview. As some background, in July of 2025, Governor Murphy signed a bill, PL 2025, Chapter 111, and in that it authorized NJHMFA to sell up to $500 million in state tax credits through competitive auctions. Now, the agency will have up to 6 years to put out each of the $500 million. The agency is limited to $100 million a year. So this first tax credit auction that will be occurring in 2025 will be making up to $100 million available. So there will be up to $100 million available for state tax credits in the fall of 2025. And then each year from there on out, the agency will be making up to $100 million available until the entirety of that $500 million authorization is utilized. There's a 6th year available should there be any unutilized credits that need to be rolled forward. Now, these state tax credits are a dollar-for-dollar reduction in the state tax liability, again, applicable to the corporate business tax or the insurance premium tax. This is creating a real benefit for the owner of New Jersey businesses or businesses that operate in New Jersey. I want to make it clear for anyone who works with low-income housing tax credits, this is completely separate. Low-income housing tax credits are purchased by syndicators as part of the capital stack of a multifamily financing structure, which means that the purchaser of the tax credits is putting equity and is an equity owner of those properties, at least for a few years. That is not going to be the case with these state tax credits. These state tax credits are simply being authorized and made available to New Jersey taxpayers, and there is no, once they purchase the tax credit, they are not, going to have any sort of interplay with the eventual multifamily, affordable and workforce housing developments that come forward out of those funds. They are using in the purchase of these tax credits are subsidizing or creating a gap subsidy source that will be put into the project. So there is a bit of a difference here, whereas in syndicators for low-income housing tax credits are part of the overall project. In this case, with these state tax credits, they are not going to be. So again, each year there will be up to $100 million made available. Now, again, these are going to be applied to the corporate business tax or the insurance premium taxes. They're applied in the privileged year that they're purchased. So if somebody purchases or is a winning bidder for the tax credits in this fall, they would then be able to apply those for the taxes for the 2025 fiscal year. So or calendar year. So they would be able to apply them to the tax obligation for that year. Anything that goes unutilized in that purchase year can be rolled forward for up to seven tax periods. So if a business buys a number of tax credits that exceed how much they're actually going to be paying in 2025, they can roll forward the excess and apply them in future years as well. Again, the proceeds from these auctions are going to be utilized to help municipalities fulfill their municipal housing obligations and fund the production of workforce housing. So that's what we often refer to as the missing middle. Those are going to be deed restricted units that are going to have higher income limitations than what we tend to consider affordable, but they also should be less than market. So it's really those who are making too much for affordable, but maybe not enough to afford market rents. So how does one prepare for this auction? So the first auction is going to open up on Monday, October 27th at 9 a.m. It will Eastern time. It will run for 30 days, which means it will close at 5 p.m. on November 26th. This is right off our website. You going forward, you'll be able to see the dates of when the future tax credit auctions are going on. As mentioned, we will be putting in, making available in 2026 up to $100 million potentially going forward each year until 2020, 2030. If we need to do more, we can. So just keep in mind that, we may even do multiple tax auctions in a single year. So in 2026, we may choose to do 2 auctions comparative to putting everything up at a single point. But those will be decisions that'll be made after we go through the first auction. So if you are watching this recording after the first tax credit auction has occurred, and because you're interested in maybe participating in the 2026 or 2027, and you just want to get a little background information, I apologize that information is not on this particular slide yet, but just be aware that in future years, we'll have the dates made available. Hopefully, give quite a bit of lead time, and we may even do multiple in a single year. But again, we're limited to a total of 100 million per year. Now, as you're preparing, there is an application form that has a lot of information that's required. Things like what is the business name? What do you do? Is there a doing business name as? Who is the authorized representative? Who is the CEO? Who is doing? What's the EIN? All of this, very specific information about your business. There will also be a form that we will make available, which is a state law about the not doing business with Russia, Belarus, or Iran. Those the application in that form will be available in the portal when somebody goes to apply. The one thing that they will need to bring to their application that is not going to be downloadable in the online system is the tax clearance certificate. So all bidders are going to be required to possess and submit a valid tax clearance certificate from the New Jersey Division on Taxation for your bidder organization, and if you have related entities, you would need to provide those as well. So to obtain the certificate, we would really recommend you email that email address right here. It is businessassistance@tres.nj.gov. You can also call the phone number 609-322-6835. So just keep that in mind. That's how you would access that. If you are planning to put in a put in a bid, we would recommend that you reach out to taxation sooner than later so that they can process this and get it to you. Again, our portal will be open for 30 days. We certainly don't recommend waiting until day 29 and then reaching out to taxation. We're not, can't guarantee that they would be able to turn that around in time. So again, we're trying to make this available, this information made known before the auction even opens, so that if you are interested, you could reach out to taxation and get this form. Because again, that's going to be really the only thing outside of the forms that we provide as part of our application process that the applicant will also need to provide. So the website itself, we really recommend you bookmark our auction website page and you check back when the auction opens. This is going to be run entirely through our secure online portal, which we use for our procurement software. So if you go to our website, it's nj.gov/dca/hmfa/about/auction, or if you just go to njhousing.gov, the first panel on our website actually will take you as a direct link to the auction page, or you can access it by going to our about, and then the drop down on our top says about. If you scroll down, you'll see state tax credit auction. That's the landing page. We really recommend that you check that out. There's quite a bit of information. This video will be posted to that page as well, probably by October 23rd. So it'll be available for those who are interested then as well. But you can also find, if you have questions, if there's the email address to reach out to, so that you can directly send us that information as well, or send us your questions directly. Or if you feel ready to go, you check in at 9 a.m. on October 27th, and there'll be a link that'll take you right into that page. We also recommend that you sign up for updates. So you join our constant contact email lists that specifically for this. You can sign up by checking out the link that we have there, or by using the QR code that's currently on the screen. If you're watching this as a recording, you simply pause it and just scan it. This way you can sign up. We will be notifying of upcoming auction dates, of reminders that the auction is closing, reminders about any information you need to get, as well as announcements for future updates. So if you're interested in potentially even being on the 26 or 27 auction line, we would certainly recommend sign up for updates through this list. That's how we're going to be notifying people, or you just keep checking back on the website. Now, when you are submitting a bid, the bid requirements, the minimum bid requirement is $250,000 in tax credit authorization. The maximum bid amount, is 100 million. So there's no real amount maximum that you can bid on. If you want to take a bid for all $100 million of the authorization that's going forward in a single year, you are welcome and to some extent encouraged to make that request. But if the minimum bid that will be considered is $250,000 in tax credit authorization. Statutorily, these cannot go below 80 cents. So if you are seeking $1 million worth of tax credits and you want to make sure you put in a bid that you feel is very confident will probably get a win at 95 cents, that's a total bid of $950,000. Which means you're paying $950,000 to try and get a tax credit of $1 million. So you right directly there are saving $50,000 in expenses right off the bat. But again, the minimum bid that'll be considered is $250 in authorization. Not necessarily your bid can be lower than that, especially if you're bidding at 80 cents or 90 cents or 95 cents or whatever it winds up being. It can be the amount that you could be paying is less than 250, but the authorization. So you have to be bidding on at least $250,000 worth of credits. Again, if you don't use all of them up front in the first year, you can roll them forward. There is to ensure that everyone is putting in legitimate bids, there is going to be a 10% deposit, which is similar to other state auctions that have been available in the past. So again, if you're doing a $950,000 bid for $1 million in tax credits, that means that the deposit would wind up being $95,000. It is refundable if you are not a winning bidder. So if you put in a bid and you are not selected or your bid does not win, you will be refunded that completely and totally. If you are the winning bidder, we will notify you and you will have a certain amount of time to provide the remaining 90% of your bid. In addition, there is a $500 non-refundable bid fee. Again, this is to help with the operating costs of running this. So that it's a relatively nominal fee, but there's a $500 non-refundable bid fee. So again, if you're not selected, you will get back the entirety of your 10%, and then but there is a fee. So submitting bids, again, all these bids must be completed through the auction portal. Any bids that are submitted by mail or email will not be accepted. They will not be reviewed. The refundable 10% and the non-refundable $500 bid fee have to be wired to the agency prior to the close of auction. So if you submit your bid on, let's just say October 30th, 3 days after it opens, you have a little bit of time. You could submit the deposit a week later, and you would do so by wiring it to the agency. The wiring instructions are on the bid form. Once the auction closes, so 5 p.m. on November 26th, all bids are final. So if you're interested, we would certainly recommend not waiting to the last minute. Explore the the auction portal, explore it, try and get yourself familiarized with it. Even if review it and then maybe submit a bid a week later to fill all the information out. But take your time, make sure you do it right. But again, don't wait till the last moment. So how are bids going to be reviewed and evaluated? So right off the bat, if the bid is priced at less than 80 cents on the tax credit, it will not be considered because, again, the statute requires that they are at least 80 cents per credit. If you are disbarred from conducting business in New Jersey, they'll be disqualified. you'll be disqualified. If you are participating in prohibited activities in Russia, Belarus, Iran, you would be disqualified. These are statutory requirements. These are things that, whether as part of the authorizing legislation for this bid or otherwise, are things that we have to take into account when reviewing. If you fail to produce the tax clearance certificate by the end of the auction window, we won't be able to go forward with your bid. That is going to be a very key component of ensuring compliance with all existing laws as well. Failure to submit the mandatory deposit or bid fee by the close of the auction window means we won't go forward as well, or failure to complete any of the required bid materials will result in a disqualification. So again, we really recommend take your time as you're filling out the application, but don't wait till the last moment. Because if there's any issues or anything that you need to address, you certainly would want to give yourself a little bit of lead time so that either you can do that or we can provide you with any sort of guidance that might be necessary. Now, how bids are going to be evaluated. Eligible bids are going to be reviewed after the auction closes. We will not be reviewing bids prior to the auction closing. I want to make that very clear. They are then going to be ranked on 3 criteria. The first criteria is per credit pricing. So a bid that is if you bid 99 cents, that is probably as high as you would likely see. That is a very strong bid. Then they're going to be sorted among any ties based on the bid amount, if there's any ties. So if 2 people put in bids at the lowest amount possible, which is 80 cents, we would then do a tiebreaker based on the amount of the bid that has been made. So again, in that scenario, two bids that came in at the minimum, 1 million, one for 1 million, one for 2 million, both at 80 cents on the dollar. The $2 million one will be get the tiebreaker there. If there's a tiebreaker after that second round of ranking, it would then go based on who submitted at the earliest possible, who submitted earlier. So here's a good example that we just created. As you can see, company A is the winning bidder because they had the highest cents on the dollar bid. There was then a tie amongst the 2 bidders who went for 90 cents. So the bidder who had the higher bid of $900,000 was the higher ranked bidder. If you go to the down to D and E, you'll see there were 2 bids that were both at 85 cents. They were both also at $8 million of credit value. So I'm sorry. So in that scenario, the one who wound up being the tiebreaker was the one who submitted the day earlier, and so on. So we will rank them through until we get to the full credit authorization. So all of the bids, we will rank them through until we get down to $100 million of credit value being allocated. If, let's say, in a future year, we do a credit, where we do maybe 30 million in one part in an auction early in the year and 70 million later. Again, if we wind up with cutting it off at the max amount awardable, so if you are under the 30 mil, if you're the 30 millionth and $1 bidder, you would not be selected in that scenario. We would then go through a review process. So HMFA at that point, we are going to rank it through, and then we will recommend our bidders in that particular order to the New Jersey Division on Taxation. When we are working down the ranked list, if the next bidder seeks more tax credits than are available in the applicable year, we may offer a partial award. So if there were 29 million, let's say, and we're using the example where there were 30 million made available, and we have $29 million accounted for, the next bidder bid $2 million, they will be offered the opportunity. They could accept basically $1 million in tax credit authorization. So we may let them know that they were the lowest ranked bidder who made it over, but that we don't have the full credit authorization for that remaining. At that point, we would ask them if they wanted to accept a partial award. Now, once we have this going forward, we will send this to taxation. If taxation finds a bidder is ineligible for the tax credit certificate, or if there's any other additional tax credits remain for the remainder of the year, we may continue down that rank. So if somebody gets disqualified by the Division of Taxation for, as they do their version of the review and make sure that their information is up to date, if somebody is, not doesn't want to go forward, we may, somebody who was an ineligible bidder earlier may move in if others above them have been disqualified. So as we are awarding the tax credits, this is the process by which it'll work. So once taxation approves a bidder and they will transmit the certificate to us, the tax credit certificate to us. HMFA will then notify the bidder and transmit them a conditional award letter and a tax credit purchase agreement via email. So they will get an email from the agency saying, congratulations, here's your conditional award letter, and here's your tax credit purchase agreement. We will need that to be the tax credit purchase agreement to be signed. Again, that is really just outlining all the uses of the credits. And then they will need to wire the remainder of the balance of the bid balance to the agency within 5 days. So once we get both of those things back, we will you will get a formal award notification letter and the tax credit certificate. So at that point, once the money and the condition and the agreement are returned, at that point, the agency will then transmit over the certificate. The certificate would then be filed as part of the taxes in an upcoming year. So HMFA will not transmit that letter or the certificate until the full payment and signed purchase agreements are provided. If the successful bidder fails to do so, they may be, if they basically choose to not go forward, they may be barred from future auctions. So unsuccessful bidders will be notified, and the wire deposits will be that were previously submitted will be returned. So we do also recommend that you be very cautious when you're submitting your application, that you have the correct wiring structures, because the application does require that you will give us your wiring instructions so that if you are unsuccessful, we can return your deposit to you. The process timeline, again, we will begin review promptly after the period closes. We will not review it before. We will not be reviewing bids before the period ends. And then as soon as it ends, we will promptly begin reviewing. So the timeline for when you may hear back, it will depend on the individual circumstances of the bidders. Something that is maybe if your company or your business has a more complex tax arrangement, that may require more information from taxation, or taxation may take a little longer to ensure everything is in order and in compliance for their portion of the review. But also, if everything's in order, it may go quick. So we will begin it immediately, but how long it takes to come back to us or to come back to you with the determinations is going to depend on your individual circumstances. Now, how are we going to report and do public transparency on this? Following the close of the auction, we are going to release a public, we may release like a public summary, and then, the summary would include who the winning bidders were, the total value of the credits awarded to the bidder, and the percentage of the face value. So kind of high-level information that we can make aware of, and that'll go on our website. There'll be a dedicated page to that. Very similar to how we post the winners of 9% allocations of the low-income housing tax credit. Now, transferring state tax credits. If you are a successful bidder and maybe you apply your taxes in the first year, and then 3 years down the line, you're like realizing you maybe don't need to use what you've already purchased, which we certainly hope would not be the case. But in that scenario, you can also sell or assign or transfer your state tax credits. There's a process by which you can do so. There will be a form that you will get from the Division of Taxation. You submit it to taxation. The form will be reviewed by both taxation and NJHMFA. At that point, as long as everything is in order, we could go forward with that. And then it would be transferred. So, but again, there are some statutory constraints that you can't transfer that for less than 80%. There is a 10% consideration that goes to the Division of Taxation and into the general fund of the state budget. And if it's approved, we will also have to publish that on our website. So just keep that in mind as you are thinking, if you were considering transferring state tax credits later on. Now, navigating the auction portal. For this, I want to make it clear that the agency is actually going to be has a recording of a test application that should be available on the website on or around October 24th. So you should have that available, and it'll be about a 10-minute video where you can watch staff do a test application to show you all of the steps that are going to be involved to help you prepare for your own bids. We figured it would be easier to break that up with a webinar being one thing and then having the how-to video for the auction portal be separate. So you'll find that on the agency's website on the main page of the auction portal.